When spirituality becomes a control algorithm, the soul stops feeling and begins to obey. So at some point when your spirituality is controlled by a control algorithm, by a social network, by what your spiritual guide says, by what a politician says, by the information you receive from somewhere, a control algorithm that controls the masses, at that moment the soul stops feeling and begins to obey. You've stopped thinking, you've stopped being aware. You're being used in a way that lacks any reasoning, no critical thinking. You just go along. So the soul stops feeling and starts simply obeying. That's today's live stream, okay? We'll try to outline it a bit and then I'll talk more or less about what these 5 bars are, what they are like, that imprison the soul, that lock it in a chain. It just obeys and lacks critical thinking. Let's go. The first important thing for us to talk about is this. It's one thing. Every time we try to learn something, we cut it out. Every time we cut, we lose part of the knowledge because we are cutting. It's like this, the universe is whole. When you cut and say there's the sun, there's the moon, here's planet Earth, you are cutting. This cutting creates what you do to have a better awareness, to learn more about Earth. The cutting about who Jackson is a cutting. The cutting about who you are is another cutting. The cutting like how you make a cake, the cutting like how you make a car. We will always have cutting to learn, okay? But the important thing is that we are one. The mind and body are completely indistinguishable. They are one. The mind is interception along with proprioception. It is the deep feeling of the body and your position in space. This is mind. This comes from the Damasian mind, which I always talk to you about. So what are we talking about spirituality? Hold on. Spirituality is already a process that involves awareness of a mind. There's a stable mind. What is this stable mind? This person is aware. Hi, what's your name? What day is it? These are consciousnesses. But spirituality comes on top of a more differentiated consciousness, a critical consciousness, a consciousness that even imposes rules on the body about what to eat, what to drink. Rules also for planning the future. The legislature creates legislation, laws, and regulations, or rules for judging what you've done, a legal part of your mind. Understand? So this is fundamental for you. The consciousness we're talking about is already above the mind, this conscious mind you have, even when dreaming. Conscious, even when dreaming, in all altered states of consciousness, this mind you have, even when dreaming, receives visceral information and your posture and positioning in space. And what is this consciousness I'm talking about? What you perceive of volume around you, vision, the city, the theater, anything you see around you, this volume around you, you position yourself. This positioning within a volume is consciousness. It's referencing within this mental hyperspace, within this volume that you perceive, okay? So in a family, you can perceive yourself as the most handsome son, the prettiest daughter, the most intelligent or the least intelligent daughter. You can perceive yourself. Perception is a reference that consciousness has, and then you begin to see the world. In your reference, in your conscience, in your place of speech. Did you notice if consciousness comes from the mind and the mind is united with the body, it's all one? The body and pure consciousness, yes, but consciousness is a reference within the mind, so it feels like we're very far from the body and we're not. Feelings, the feelings we have consist of a stable and profound metabolism of the experiences we live and the repetitions we have. Feelings, this metabolism, this chemistry within you creates a feeling, but from lived experiences and effective repetitions. So you have some experience there, you had a mother or you had a father or you have a friend or you have a friend or you have an animal and you have these effective things. So then you start to create feelings. You start to record these feelings in episodic memories. And these existential feelings create your tensional selves, which we always talk about. They sustain this tensional self and give it a living identity. You live, feel, and be. That's it. It's quite simple. Your deepest feelings. But think about yourself, not just now. Think about yourself since you were a baby. These feelings created the tensional selves. These feelings in each tensional self you had when you were with the baby, when you were hungry, when you were thirsty, or when you were in pain. This tensional self caused the stimuli emitted at that moment to connect in some way. And neuroscience says so. The neuron that fires together tends to fire together because it connects to this tensional self. You grow and this self matures. It connects other parts of the brain. It connects the prefrontal region. It connects other parts together, but it also connects the visceral parts. It's a tensional self. It's a whole. Understand? So the mind is one. The self, which is tensional, is also one. Yes, but it comes from a body that has been tensioned in some way by some culture, by some situation. People who have adverse memories, for example, or traumas, it was a tensional self forged there with hardship, with much pain, with traumas. But the self is there. That's important. We have this self. As for this me, you have a sequestered consciousness, which would be consciousness. This tensional self is there, the visceral part, and this part in this positioning in space, which you positioned yourself in some way. I'll explain more in a moment. And suddenly, in this positioning you look at the tension, call 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 the tension, and there's no time. Look, true or false information, calling the attention of this tensional self. You are now activated in something that calls your attention. By calling attention, your body positions itself differently. It positions itself to absorb this incoming stimulus. It tenses the viscera, it tenses the muscles, it limits itself. For example, now balance on one leg. To balance on one leg, you have to balance and tense a lot of muscles in the body. Notice the tensional self, when called to attention, fake news, fake news, fake news, lies, lies, it becomes activated. When activated, it imposes bodily tensions and imposes visceral tensions. It silences the body's voice. It silences the body's voice. This tensional self, when activated, silences the body's voice. You always have to have. You will perceive something after. You will always perceive a whole, and you will always position yourself within the whole, always. When you wake up during dreams, when you drink, when you don't drink, when you drink coffee, when you don't drink coffee, you always perceive a whole. A whole that is everything that comes from sounds and things and is imagined. And then from there you position yourself. It's always a whole, okay? You perceive the whole, but the whole is limited by your beliefs and what you think is true or not. Your faith, your studies, your learning, your brain formation also filters some things, and then you don't notice something of that whole. Not noticing something of that whole doesn't mean that something doesn't exist. It means that you don't notice it. And if you don't notice, it's not part of your reality due to your lack of perception, and this lack of perception is a lack of cerebral information or an excess of belief or faith in something that could be a lie. And then your perception of the whole is changed, tarnished, changed. Then we become, and at that moment, when you grasp and perceive this whole and begin to synchronize with it, you become one with the whole, which you perceived and synchronized. If you're a soccer team, there's no goalkeeper, striker, or defense. When you realize this, you are a whole. You are a whole, which is the team of 11. And it still involves the coach, and sometimes it involves the fans because it's a whole. So there are no longer individuals, there's a collective, a flock, a school, there's a larger movement of belonging. So we become a synchronicity and we belong to this whole. Okay, in the activated consciousness as well, stimulus comes, stimulus comes, stimulus comes, and I realize it's what activates me. Yes, but what activates me can be a lie. So I perceive myself as a whole amidst lies. And then, wow, my greater essence is I become something that is fake, that is a lie. I become It's like it says here, when spirituality becomes a control algorithm, that is, someone stimulates you and you believe in that stimulus, the soul stops feeling and starts obeying. You no longer feel your body and viscera because this stimulus imposes a tension on your viscera, a tension on your body that wouldn't be yours if it weren't for the stimulus. But why does this stimulus come? To make you obey. It's no longer to feel your body. It is to stop being. It's about stopping being a mass controlled by algorithms, often social media, or the ideas of a pastor, a priest, a religious or spiritual leader, whatever. So, activated awareness will change your visceral tensions, it will change your postural freedoms in the face of what you perceive, and it will create desire within you. Before a person feels a desire for anything, there are already predictive studies that show that the body gives signals that it will have a desire. Desire doesn't come from the intellect, it comes from the body. But these stimuli, even the false ones, cause bodily tensions and positions in space to create desires, false desires to obey. You create bodily tensions, visceral tensions, bodily tensions, and begin to obey with the desire to obey. You have become a tormented soul. You began to suffer because of an algorithm, because of lies. But Jackson, how can I get out of this? I don't want to stay in this. This is absurd. Could I be being controlled? Look, I'll tell you something that's a little boring to talk about. You can get out maybe in religion, but you get caught in politics. You can get out of politics, but you get caught in the educational system. You can get out of the educational system, but you get caught in the cultural system. We'll always be trapped in some system. There's no way around it, okay? So I'm afraid you won't be free in every system. Some system will always get you. No, I want to be free. It's not like that, okay? So much so that just look at your food. You eat a certain diet, but if you went to India, China, or anywhere, your diet wouldn't be the same because the food itself creates a metabolism for digestion. So there's no way around it. So we can only increase our freedom a little here and there, but we have to know that our freedom will indeed be restricted. Okay, but what are the shackles? What are the prisons of the soul that allow the soul to be punished? Okay, 5 bars of the tormented soul that imprison the soul. Comrade, you were born a sinner, so it's guilt. I place the blame on you. You are guilty of something, fear. So the body starts to become vigilant because it's afraid. So look, guilt, fear, desire. Desire is better. I crave this. I crave the promise of reward. I crave, you understand, another belonging. So you feel and want to be belonging. You want to be whole. A sense comes from it, belonging. And then which is the most uncomplicated thing which comes from all of this. You have your mind activated, your conscience activated, and now you have punitive justice. You want to destroy anyone who thinks differently. You are under arrest. Your soul is tormented. What would a tormented soul be in this sense? A tormented soul, basically, the broader profile of a tormented soul is like this. I want this life to pass quickly because my life after death is better. That's a tormented soul. Jackson, most evangelicals, most Christians think about life after death. Most religions think about life after death. But thinking, believing, hoping, believing, and having faith are for you to use to help you get out of difficult situations in life. You use belief, you use your faith, you use your music, your praise, your meditation, your enjoyment, you use it all. Your chanting, your rituals, you use everything because this creates synchronicity in the body. It makes your body enter zone 2. Zone 2 is where you cleanse your cells. You start consuming more fat, right? Than glucose itself. So you cleanse the cell, you deactivate mTOR a little, then the cell begins to autophagocytosis. You're cleansing the body. How? because you're practicing your faith, you're practicing these things, you're concentrating, you're in a state of enjoyment. When you're in a state of enjoyment, your oximetry drops a little. It stays between 92% and 96%. The carbon dioxide rises a little, then activates the prefrontal. The prefrontal becomes activated because it was the carbon dioxide that rose a little and then dilates the hemodynamics of the prefrontal. It dilates a little and you have more cognition to see, you have more enjoyment, you have metacognition to see things, understand. Look how important this is. You are in your beliefs, you are in your meditation, it's good. But that doesn't mean that you, as a living human soul, want to live in the now. You don't want to die to live better. When you die, it's over, everything ends. But if you lose your faith, it ends sooner, it ends sooner. You need your faith, you need your beliefs and your faiths. But when you have an activated consciousness, systems, algorithms, and even political ideologies steal the jargon of your belief. They steal your belief, steal your faith, capture your meaning. You stop feeling and you start obeying only what? An algorithm, a system of lies. Since this system of lies was for your friend, for you, for mine, and for the entire group, it must be true. So you're activated. You've become a tormented soul who now desires only a sense of justice, to punish those who don't believe as you do, to punish those who don't accept the truth you created. Of course, the algorithm inside your head created it. You're no longer. You're no longer. Look, some people say, Jackson, are you speaking out against the far right? In politics, look here, I'm talking about the fact that this right and left was created in Europe. There's already a bias there, there's already a mistake there, there's no more post, there's already a colonial lie stuck in our heads. We are one. We must see the good in everyone. Innate spirituality is based on DNA, which I call Dana. Dana is a religiosity that doesn't exist anywhere else. Dana is a religiosity that should be used by governments and the state. The state says, Dana, what is Dana? What is DNA intelligence? What does DNA do? And what is the interaction of human DNA with other DNA? And then you start studying, studying, studying. Look, this is better. This religiosity is doing this. It's not good because it harms human DNA. Oh no, this one can be done. This one can't be done. Dana is something that will help you and the state organize itself within secularism. The state is secular, it should be secular. So that's the idea. When you have improved damage, you have these people with more security. And then left and right politics, that came from Europe, that's colonial, that's out. Yes, but today we're fighting left and right. And the far right wants to preserve its power by pushing a completely flawed idea and many lies. Okay, but inside your body, when you believe you're now spreading the truth, you're an extremist. Not right wing, but extreme. You've gone to the extreme and you have an authoritarianism that makes you think you're right. Truth is relational. Truth is between people. Truth is between us. It's not here nor there. It's between us. Truth gets better and better with more science, more evidence, more conversation, more diplomacy. When you enter with a sense of punitive justice, you're already trapped. Your soul is already tormented. You don't accept those who think differently. Your soul is already operated on. You're already locked away. You're already obeying whatever system it can force upon you, true or false, but you no longer feel your body, the interception, or even your own exception. You've already ceased to be. Within belonging, when the individual or some symbol holds the focus of a community's attention, it triggers a heart-wrenching effect. What do I want to tell you? You have an internet community, a WhatsApp community, whatever, and you have a community there, and you already have a sense of belonging. It's a community. Then a symbol or an individual appears saying something. It creates a cartoon effect. All the bodies in that community begin to operate synchronously and perceive the same thing because it's cartoon like. The problem I'm talking about, the serious problem of an activated consciousness, irresponsible people activate the consciousness. And I'm even talking about politicians from the left and right and many religions. They activate the consciousness during that week of fasting and prayer. They activate the consciousness. And by activating the consciousness, it triggers the Kadumi effect where there's a leader, something directing this mass of things. But these individuals have stopped feeling. They're just obeying. They've stopped being. That's why I say that the being who follows has stopped being. The master of yourself, of life, you have to be your own master. And if you start following someone, you are a follower, you are no longer one. You stopped feeling, you stopped passing on, metabolizing the energies and the energy. This energy that you feel gives up on you to simply reproduce the other, reproduce belonging to a group, which is sometimes stimulated by lies just to activate consciousness. We are this one being, we are whole. Of course, at some point when consciousness returns, you can leave the system you're in and that belief or that place. But man, leaving is not about losing the belief, but using the belief you have, using the faith you have. Whoever gives up faith loses data, loses things, loses bodily resources. You use faith to do things, but you don't lose that faith. But if an ideology is using the jargon of your faith to manipulate, to activate such consciousness so that you stop feeling and simply start obeying, or simply now we're going to punish the unjust. Who are the unjust? Then you'll see that it's those who go against your leader. And your leader is the person who makes you feel no longer in your body. Simply obey the leader. Well, boy, your case is very serious, but come back in a few minutes. We're in the middle of these cases, especially in the cultural aspect. Guys, that's what I wanted to leave you with. I didn't do the live at 8 today because I have a commitment tonight. A big hug. See you next time.